The winter air in northern Germany carries a sharp, salt-tinged breeze from the North Sea during the month of December. In the city of Oldenburg, the streetlights flicker on at 4 in the afternoon to combat the encroaching shadows. Inside the Oldenburg clinic, the linoleum floors reflect the sterile fluorescent hum of the intensive care unit. The year was 2000, and a young nurse named Niels Högel walked these halls with a quiet, practiced efficiency. He was a man of average build, often seen wearing the standard white scrubs that signify a life dedicated to healing. But beneath the professional exterior, a disturbing pattern began to emerge within the walls of the clinic. Physicians at Oldenburg noticed that an unusual number of emergencies occurred whenever Niels Högel was on duty. Patients who were stable moments before would suddenly spiral into cardiac arrest during his shifts. Högel would leap into action, performing resuscitations with a vigor that earned him the nickname Resuscitation Rambo. He later told the court that the daily clinical routine failed to challenge his need for excitement. He began administering unauthorized cardiac medications, such as agmaline and amiodarone, to patients for reasons outside of their prescribed medical treatment. These substances were designed to stabilize the heart, but in his hands, they became tools to stop it. Despite the rising death toll at Oldenburg Clinic, the hospital leadership did not report their suspicions to the police. Instead, they encouraged Niels Högel to move on to another facility in the nearby town of Delmenhorst. They even provided him with a spotless reference, allowing him to carry his secret into a new intensive care unit. In Delmenhorst, the dark pattern did not just continue, it intensified with terrifying speed. A later review revealed that 411 deaths were recorded in the Delmenhorst ICU over a span of 3 years. Of those 411 lives lost, 321 occurred while Niels Högel was working or shortly after his shift ended. The death rate in the unit had roughly doubled, yet the silence of the institution remained unbroken. The silence finally shattered in 2005 when a fellow nurse witnessed Högel injecting a patient with an unprescribed drug. That patient passed away the next day, marking the beginning of a long and painful search for justice. Hospital management waited 48 hours before contacting law enforcement about the incident. In that 2-day interval, Högel was able to take the life of one final patient. He was arrested and convicted of attempted murder in 2008, but the true scope remained hidden for years. Under pressure from grieving families, authorities eventually exhumed more than 130 bodies from cemeteries across Germany. Investigators like Arne Schmidt worked tirelessly to test for traces of sotalol and other drugs in the remains. In 2017, Schmidt announced that the evidence pointed to at least 90 murders, a number that left him speechless. By the 2019 trial, Niels Högel faced 100 charges of murder for his actions in Oldenburg and Delmenhorst. Over 7 months of proceedings, the court heard how he admitted to 43 killings while claiming he forgot the rest. The judges ultimately convicted him of 85 murders, sentencing him to life in prison for crimes beyond human imagination. The true number of victims may exceed 200, but many were cremated, leaving their stories lost to the flames. This event asks us to consider the weight of the silence that allowed a shadow to walk the wards for 5 years. It reminds us that the vigilance of a single colleague is often the only shield between life and a tragic end. In the quiet corners of northern Germany, the names of those 85 souls are now etched in the history of a nation's search for truth. As the sun sets over the North Sea, we are left with the memory of those who were lost and the resilience of those who fought to find them.
If you want to hear vivid stories from the U.S. every day, please subscribe and like.